Welcome to another episode of the Coaster101 Podcast. My name is Shane, our New England writer. I am joined today by Andrew Stillwell from North Carolina.
Hey, Shane.
And Eric out in California.
Hi, Shane. Hi, Andrew.
So today we're getting into our most excited and kind of review of what we've done so far in 2020. So Andrew, what are you most excited for, or were most excited for about 2020?
Yeah, I think maybe focus on what 2020 things we were excited about.
Yeah, 2020, you were talking about, what we've done so far in 2020. I mentioned it very briefly on the last episode, but I rode a Wacky Worm earlier this year, so that was exciting. But as far as new coasters for 2020, I was really looking forward to Texas Stingray. I was really looking forward to Pantheon at Busch Gardens Williamsburg, and like every other coaster enthusiast in the United States and probably the world, I was looking forward to Iron Quasi the most.
Yeah, it's good that Texas Stingray was one of your choices, Andrew, because that's the one that we know for sure is open and should be running whenever the park reopens.
Yeah, as of right now, I think there's probably a little bit of debate if you can give Texas Stingray the best new coaster of 2020 so far. Obviously, there's some little division as to when West Coast Racers officially opened. I know, Eric, you rode it with a bunch of Six Flags members in late 2019.
I wrote it in late 2019. I think it was like December 17th or something. And then it also had a weird thing where it was open for pass holders, I think, for like a week, but then was closed for another week before it actually opened in early January. So if we call it 2020, then I'm great. I've checked the box if I've ridden a new for 2020 coaster. I just happened to ride it in 2019. It was so, I mean, just in general, sort of thinking about the 2020 coasters, it was like, it looked like, I think we probably talked about this way back in our post at the beginning of the year about what we were excited for this year. This looked like one of the best sort of roller coaster classes in a while. I mean, there were a lot of really exciting looking rides scheduled to come out this year. I think if I was picking one specifically, I was very interested in Jersey Devil at Six Flags Great Adventure. My home park is California's Great America, which has Railblazer, one of the first two of the single rail Raptor coasters from Rocky Mountain Construction that opened, and I love it. It's great. I mean, it's lots of exciting elements, great airtime, like you expect from any RMC. The being on the single rail car, single file is a very exciting kind of sensation that's different from it is actually feels different from any other coaster I've ridden. So seeing Jersey Devil is kind of those were kind of, they made two kind of mirror image versions that were sort of the prototype model. Jersey Devil's now a custom unique design and longer, bigger. What can they do as they sort of push the envelope on this, where they had this sort of successful prototype version that came out. So that was one that I was most excited about, partly from this is sort of a next evolution in roller coasters. It should be very different from anything else that's out there. We'll see. We'll see if it opens this year.
Yeah, right. Shane, you're up there too. What are I know you were talking about getting over to Great Adventure. What were some of the things you were looking forward to most this year before the coronavirus kind of put a stop to everything?
So Jersey Devil obviously is the big one. It's the closest one to me. I've been planning a trip out there for a while, so definitely bummed about that. The good news, though, is that they've done a bunch of construction on Jersey Devil with all the closures and everything, so hopefully that will be open shortly after the park reopens, whenever that is. But I'm also excited about Candemonium, which we know is actually opening when Hershey Park opens. So that should be really great. It's been cool following the construction of that, and all the testing has looked awesome. So I'm excited to see what people think of that.
That thing hauls. Have you guys seen a video?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
It is just, it flies through that course. And, I've seen the train renderings. I think the Reese's train, obviously, of the three different candy-themed trains, I think the Reese's train kind of looks the best on that orange track. But Candemonium is definitely one I'm super excited about. And again, I need to go to Hershey Park. Is this year the year I'm going to go? I don't know yet, but hopefully it is.
Yeah, I think that's certainly one that also looked very good to me. I mean, I think Hershey's got one of the best coaster lineups. I'm trying to think if there's a roller coaster there that I didn't like when I went. That is very exciting. And it's exciting that they've actually announced that it's going to be open whenever the park opens, because I don't know if I'm trying to think if there are any others that have like officially said that. The only thing I can think of right now, partly my California bias, is that I know Knott's Berry Farm said that the new Knott's Berry Tales will be open when Knott's Berry Farm reopens, whenever that is. But have any of the other coasters that are at parks that are closed been announced as like done, ready to open on opening day?
I have heard that, somebody, when they announced that Busch Gardens and SeaWorld Orlando and Busch Gardens Tampa were going to open, that both Icebreaker and Iron Gwazi would not be ready. I know before the whole COVID shutdown, Iron Gwazi was making test runs pretty regularly. I haven't seen anything with Icebreaker yet. Depending on where you look on the internet, there's some issues financially with both of those attractions. So obviously we're recording this. It's a little bit in the past, but
once middle of June, so things may have changed by the time this comes out.
Right. But yeah, I know Orion is scheduled to open. They say it's a 2019 edition at Kings Island, so I haven't heard if it'll open, when the park opens in early July, maybe soon thereafter. That's another coaster I've seen that's been making a lot of test runs recently.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I also thought I read somewhere that they were trying to get Orion open with the park. I don't know if they've made official announcement yet, but I think that would definitely be nice if they were able to do that, just because, similar to Candemonium, it's completed, it's done test runs, so hopefully that'll be able to open up, if not right away, within the next few weeks of when Kings Island opens.
I wonder on... go ahead, Andrew.
Yeah, what have you guys heard about the Aquaman at Six Flags Over Texas? I mean, obviously, it's not an Orlando park. It's not a park that's covered by a ton of, coaster bloggers, but I don't even know. Obviously, it was under construction. Have you guys seen anything on that?
Yeah, it's done as far as I know. At least the track is done. I haven't seen a train on it, but the last update I saw, the full track is complete. I think they were just finishing up the water area, so hopefully that will also be another one that opens soon.
Gotcha. What about the parks that, again, we're taping the middle of June. There's a lot of states out there who have not entered the correct phase for theme parks. Maybe you can get a haircut, maybe you can eat outside, but you can't go to the theme park quite yet. What do you guys think about some of these other coasters that haven't, or other parks rather, that haven't announced necessarily an opening date? Do you think they should keep the coaster scheduled to open, or do you think they should just push it to 2021? Pantheon comes to mind. Jersey Devil's another one. I haven't seen an opening date for Great Adventure yet. Emperor at SeaWorld San Diego, another roller coaster that's having its share of issues right now.
The SeaWorld, I mean, that was another one that I think it was pretty close to being done. I feel like they were running tests on it.
Yeah, they was testing at some point.
But all the SeaWorld parks seem to have run into some sort of legal conflict with whether they're paying the companies that are building them or not. I think it's sort of without having actually ever worked in the theme park business side of things, it feels, opening a new attraction, part of the point of that is getting the PR and marketing benefit, getting the boost in, we can sell X more season tickets this year because we've got this new attraction that's going to attract a bunch of more people to show up. And so that's sort of where I think this kind of came up with West Coast Racers. Obviously had lots of delays for lots of reasons, got made fun of a lot for how much it was delayed, and sort of how much did that miss out on Magic Mountain being able to sell extra tickets because it wasn't open. If you think about parks that are then maybe they're going to try and reopen in late July or August, but if they're a seasonal park that is then only open through October or something, are they going to sell a bunch of season passes for 3 months? Will anyone come, I guess, is another question with it, if they're trying to attract people from far away. If they've got limited capacity, do they get any of that sort of marketing benefit from opening a ride if they can only have 30% capacity and people aren't flying there and it's the end of their season anyway?
Well, most of the parks, thankfully, have kind of extended that season pass already into 2021. I know Cedar Fair did that, across the board. I know Hershey Park and Kennywood, I believe at this point, have extended at least into July, if not all of the 2021 season. So there is that, they've sold the passes for 2020 kind of based on the anticipation of 2020. And obviously the first 3 months of the 2020 season at most of the regional parks it's not been a what many could call a normal year.
Yeah. Well, and that sort of, you then wonder, I mean, do parks even care about trying to sell 2020 passes now? Because, I mean, Cedar Fair parks, we love that they did this. It was super generous, a good move by them to extend all 2020 passes through the entirety of 2021. Then it's like, okay, do we rush to open this thing and get it certified now? When we're selling 2021 passes for it, we could open it next March instead and have like a big to-do with tens of thousands of people, assuming things are better in a year.
Yeah. I would think that they would probably try to aim for 2021 just for that reason. The only thing that would be bad about that is that now everything that opens in 2021 is going to be overshadowed by the Velocicoaster in Orlando. But
I thought they haven't announced an opening date or name or that it exists.
It doesn't even exist yet.
Right, forgot about that. Never mind.
It's okay. But you got to think. You think with the Cedar Fair parks that have opened, like Worlds of Fun, or are getting ready to open, like Kings Island. They're 4-season parks. They go from the summer season into Haunt, and they both have Winterfest. And Winterfest ends on New Year's Eve, and they kind of pick back up in March. So you've got at those parks, you do have the value of that kind of the year and a half season pass. Other parks in the chain, I know Michigan's Adventure, for example, they have not announced a reopening date. They also don't have a Haunt. They don't have Winterfest. So at what point...
They also weren't getting any new rides. Maybe they were. I don't actually know.
No, they have. They've got that.
Just digging in.
They've got the Camp Snoopy Kids area. But again, at what point...
there you go.
You talk about roller coasters opening. At what point does it become kind of... Not to say, is it worth it for a park to open, but by the time, you get an opening date, you staff up, you onboard people with training and things like that, does it make financial sense, especially a smaller park like Michigan's Adventure? I think, obviously, the parks that extend their season, I know Carowinds, my home park, right now, their main quote-unquote season goes into November, even post-Haunt. Haunt goes through Halloween. They're open the 3 weeks in November, or the 3 weekends in November for their Peanuts Festival, and then they go right into Winterfest.
Oh.
So they have some time regardless. And I know they Carowinds, their capital project this year was a mat racing water slide, and I don't know what Carolina Harbor typically goes until Labor Day, goes Memorial Day to Labor Day. And I've seen construction, it looks good, but they were also going to bring Grand Carnival to the park this year, and Grand Carnival has already been shelved for 2021 across the Cedar Fair chain. So it's, some things are obviously they've been quote unquote punted on already. And it makes sense. I know Cedar Point was another one. They had their entire 150th anniversary celebration this year. That's going to become a 151st anniversary celebration with their parade.
I think
and their
Knott's is the same way with their 100th. I think Knott's announced all of the sort of festivities around it were going to be postponed.
Right. So it's all you want crowds for events like Carnival and for those anniversaries. And if you have to do this at a limited capacity, I saw Carnival at King's Dominion last year. It is a spectacular, awesome event with a park of, 50% capacity or less. You lose a lot of that interaction, and it's especially as more and more parks aren't doing parades right now because of the social distancing. Yep. So it's just it's a weird time for sure. But
I mean, certainly, like, even the Disney parks, which probably would be most able to handle, like, spacing people out for a show, like, they have canceled fireworks and parades, and so any kind of that thing. I guess the other part of it I would wonder your thoughts on are just guessing that most 2021 attractions are now also being put off, both as a cost saving, like, figure that projects have to start, like, actual breaking ground has to start at least a year ahead, and planning certainly multiple years ahead, but with both for financial reasons and also the ability to get in and start knocking things down and building things. Are we going to see any 2021 projects? And if we're going to see fewer 2021 projects, then does it make sense to turn the 2020 projects into 2021 projects?
That's a good point.
Yeah, I think that's definitely what they have to start thinking about. And the other thing is, if they do, like you were saying, open later in August or September, is it even worth doing a haunt event or a holiday event? Just because, especially with both of those things, number one, there's, especially with haunts, everybody's close to each other, everybody's in confined spaces, so is it worth putting the effort and money into the holiday shows or the Halloween stuff if there's going to be limited capacity and it wouldn't be the same, on top of not having a regular season also?
Right. It's a good point. I mean, those haunt mazes, they definitely have a conga line effect to them.
Yeah.
So it's you can't be six feet away from. I mean, you can. You got to do the. There was a park a couple years ago. I think it might have been Busch Gardens, Tampa. They did the "You're in the Maze Alone" experience. That might have to be the go-to haunt experience this year. Is you're in the maze completely alone. It's just you and scare actors and darkness and jump scares.
No scare actors either.
They can't be near. They have to be away though.
Just you and like loud sounds that occasionally play.
All the scare actors are behind plexiglass.
Yeah, I mean, I guess any other specific thoughts on 2021 coasters that are opening or that you hope get postponed so you can ride them because you had plans canceled?
Well, Eric, you're out in Northern California, and this it brings up an interesting point. A couple weeks, months, I don't know when it was. The days all run together right now anyway. Somebody online said Sidewinder Safari, which was Six Flags Discovery Kingdom's new coaster, it's not on their website anymore. Have you heard anything about that?
I have not. I did reach out to them and ask, and I think they had no comment at that time. I was sort of expecting something to come out, but then it didn't. So I haven't heard anything new. It does feel, I mean, most of California has, like, there aren't parks that have reopened, so it's certainly a later reopening period than I think a lot of the country. So they haven't announced anything about reopening. And we had read, I think we saw on a bunch of the Six Flags earnings calls, they had basically said they were shifting around capital projects to move some amount of the money they were spending this year to next year. And I think they never officially announced it, but I think there were a few rides that sort of had this, like, okay, these are parks that they decided this could wait another year. And I think that's, like, I mean, it goes back to the purpose of this is to drive more traffic to the park, especially here where Discovery Kingdom and California's Great America are sort of equidistant from the largest population centers of the Bay Area. And so it's sort of them competing with each other, and this was maybe, this could have been a year maybe for Discovery Kingdom because Great America was doing the water park upgrade, which now, kind of like you mentioned with Carowinds, Great America sort of water park upgrade and Grand Carnival and a couple other shows were their big things for this year. And so my guess is for all of those that they are just going to be pushed out because it was like, is it worth even opening the water park for a month if it's even ready to go? So I think that the downside for Discovery Kingdom putting that off would be if Great America had something next year, which constant rumors about Great America eventually getting a hyper coaster that has sort of been discussed and it showed up in their planning documents from 5 years ago or whatever it is now. But that also feels like, even if that was coming in 21, it's probably not coming in 21 now because of the same Cedar Fair also trying to tighten the purse strings, and if the water park doesn't open until next year, then why would they bother building a new coaster as well? So it's certain, I mean, I haven't heard anything new, but it feels like most of the new attractions in California would be ones that could easily be put off, except that they're year-round parks, and I think that is something that we haven't really touched on, but the year-round parks are where it still makes sense maybe to open a ride in the off-season at places in Florida or Southern California where, I'm sure they get more tourists in the summer, but, it's not like Orlando doesn't get tourists in November, December, January, February kind of thing.
Right. Well, 2020's, it's definitely been a weird year, but as parks begin to open, some parks are open. We kind of touched on that, and more parks are getting ready to open early next month. We'll have news for sure on Coaster101.com.
All right. I think that's all we've got for this week. If you've got any feedback on the show, feel free to email podcast@coaster101.com. We're still new at this, so we're open to any advice, suggestions, complaints that you have. Big thank you to Andrew and Shane for joining this week. Also, thank to Justin Mabry from JM Music Design for providing our theme song for us. You should definitely check him out. His website is in the show notes for the episode. And then make sure that you follow us on all of our social media platforms. We are at Coaster101 on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, apparently even TikTok, even though I don't actually know how that works. But Shane is young, so I think he's got it. And we will talk to you all next time.